رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن، الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود، فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته وودد بالسخور ميدان أرضه، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشيرنا المصدق نذيرنا المؤيد المصطفى الأمجد محمود الأحمد، الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين قال عنهم الرسول: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم، أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم، وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم ومبغضيهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى لقاء يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. سلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. A few days ago I was requested to recite a marthia at a particular gathering, and I was requested by the mu'mineen to repeat this particular marthia, which has been recited by Farhan Ali Warith, who is a famous reciter, and I wish to seek your permission to recite this marthia. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. बड़े जुल्म राहों में सहती रही है, यतीमी के ताने ये सहती रही है, नहीं मार जालिम तमाचे इसे, न कर इसका दुश्वार जीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना। अल्लाह बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना। सफर में ये सोई न जिंदा में आकर, उजाला किया है यहाँ दिल जलाकर। پدر سے جو بچھڑی ہے عاشور کو، سکون پا سکی پھر کبھی نہ، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ ملا دشت میں جب کہ بابا کا لاشا، لپٹ سے پدر کے لپٹ کے پدر سے کیا خوب گریا۔ وہاں پہنچی زینب تو شہ نے کہا، سلا دو اسے جا کے بہنا، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ رسم دے گئی ہے نشانی گلے پر، ہے پیشانی زخمی جو کھائے ہیں پتھر، نشاں ہے تماچوں کے رخسار پر، مصائب سے زخمی ہے سینہ، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ کبھی اپنے بابا کے قاتل سے ڈر کر، کبھی روئی زندہ میں تنہائیوں پر، کبھی بولی زینب کہ اب گھر چلو، ہوا ایک برس ایک مہینہ، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ قیامت کی ایک رات ایسی بھی آئی، قضا نے سکینہ کو لوری سنائی، کہا رو کے سجاد نے اے پھوپھی کہ اب روئے گی پھر کبھی نہ، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ یہ کہتا ہے فرحان سے رو کے مظہر، جو قبر سکینہ پہ جانا برادر، وہاں مرثیہ جا کے پڑھنا یہی، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ، بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ اللہ بہت رو چکی ہے سکینہ۔ صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد۔ May I hear another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. concluding tonight what we began 10 days ago, beginning with the sermon of the fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh, in the Darbar of Yazid in Sham. We mentioned that the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam assumed the position of Imamah in very tragic circumstances. The first day of his Imamah, the first day of his leadership, saw him looking at the head of his father on a spearhead. The first day of his Imamah saw him in a state where his aunt was removed from the tent and the veil was removed from her. The first day of his Imamah saw that his 4-year-old sister Sakina was slapped right before him. The first day of his Imamah saw him, the bed on which he was lying in the state of illness was pulled from his back. That was the tragic circumstances in which Imam alayhi salatu wasalam assumed the position of Imamah. He then was chained and shackled and taken away from Karbala to Kufa and from Kufa to Sham. And the circumstances of Sham were given in detail as to who were these people to whom Imam was speaking to, and what was it that he was telling them, and what was it that he was trying to drive home. That was mentioned in detail over at least 7 lectures, for the first 7 lectures. For the last 3 lectures, we have been trying to concentrate on understanding the true purpose of our own existence and the purpose of this khutbah that was delivered by Imam, and the meaning of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar in its true sense. This Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, as understood by us, is a very simplistic way of looking at Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. We normally tend to miss the larger issues. We tend to miss the broader issues. In relation to our creation, we begin to see ourselves as the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in a very simplistic way. We miss out the broader issue of why we are the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we look at anything that is presented before us, we begin to look at it in the most simplistic of the manners, and then tend to forget the broader meaning for which Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, or for which Quran Majid was revealed. So as I have been driving this point home, that our concentration in the recitation of Quran has been shadda, madda, fatha, kasra, waqf lazim, this waqf, that waqf. That has been our concentration. But the message of Quran has been missed, while we have been trying to concentrate on the shadda and the madda of it. Is the shadda and the madda wrong? Of course not. The shadda and the madda is part of the recitation of Quran. It is an etiquette of how to recite it. There is no more than that in it as far as the recitation is concerned. The true essence of that which is la ratbin wa la yabisin illa fi kitabin mubin. There is no dry or wet, but it is that. It is in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The essence of this has been missed, or I have missed it. I look at everything in the most simplistic manner when it comes to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. When it comes to looking at the etiquettes of Muharram, the month of Muharram, the first 10 days of Muharram, no, the 2 months and 10 days of Muharram and Safar. When we look at them, we look at the first day when the moon is seen of Muharram. We put these black clothes to create an environment We raise these alams so that an environment is raised or created for you and I, in which you and I want to weep and we want to cry over the emotional aspect of Karbala. But in doing so, we are restricting Hussein to this room only. We are keeping Hussein in the Marthia. We are keeping Hussein in the Matam. We are keeping Hussein in the lectures. But what is the true meaning of Muharram? Kullu yawmin Ashura, kullu ardin Karbala. The true essence of Muharram, that the message of humanity must reach outside, is missed. So the ritual is followed. The custom is followed. The tradition is followed. But the true message, the essence of Ashura, is missed. Hussein must be mentioned in all charters of human rights because he stood for justice. But I have never taken Hussein up there. I have left Hussein in the mosque. How does this Hussein become a universal figure of this entire planet and universe? The only way is when I take Hussein and I understand this message of Karbala in its true sense, in its true meaning, and take Hussein ibn Ali, intellectualize the themes of Karbala and present it outside. When I look at my own prayers, my own salat, my own saum, my own hajj, my own zakat, it becomes a ritual. It becomes a recitation. It becomes the following of it. It becomes وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. We found our fathers doing it and therefore we are doing it. The broader meaning is lost, is missed. We look for halal food to eat. We read the ingredients in the supermarkets. That's what we do. Is this meat halal or is it not halal? Is the ingredient in this particular product that I am buying according to Islam or not? My concentration is on that, and should it not be? Of course it should be. But what I have missed is the broader sense of it. The meat is only what I am eating halal. But what is important before I buy this particular meat is to know more whether I have, one day I'm just wondering, it just occurred to me one day, that if a man goes to buy meat and he asks the meat man whether your meat is halal or not, and the man says to him, yes, my meat is halal. And when this man starts to pay for this meat, perhaps if that meat man asks, is your money halal, I may be stuck. I may be stuck in responding. The broader meaning is lost. I am looking for halal meat myself, so that I may be able to eat. But I may have usurped the right of someone, which I have missed. It may not have been legal what I have done. My money that I use for myself, or the money that I use to buy this meat, it may be usurped. It may be somebody's right. I may have done dhulm on someone. I may have not paid the dues of Islam, the taxation. I may not have looked at the right of another person. That broad point has been missed. What I am looking for is halal food to eat. I say to Hussein ibn Ali, أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف وَنَهَيْتَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. I say to Imam Hussein, and I said this, I think the first, fourth, or fifth lecture, and I said I will come back to it. Give me a minute, and I will bring you. Whether I look at my ritual in Hajj, and I recite the talbiyah, لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك. I have followed all the rituals. They say that if you truly want to perform circumambulation around Khana Kaaba, around the Kaaba, you must first purify your heart, purify yourself, make yourself clean. Then let the Kaaba do the tawaf of the Kaaba inside your heart, rather than you having to go and perform the tawaf. The tawaf outside is a different tawaf. The true tawaf is inside my heart as I perform this particular tawaf. And then when I go and say, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, there is a black man standing next to me, and a white man standing next to me, and a rich man standing next to me, and a poor man standing next to me. There is no difference whatsoever. We are all one. So that we understand the true meaning of humanity at large. We are looking for hur in paradise, that's all. Our recitation of Quran is for hur. Our recitation of dua is for hur. You know, Allama Iqbal says in one of his beautiful poetries, he says, Qahartu yeh. He's talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allama Iqbal, in one of his poems, he is having an argument with Allah. And he is making a complaint to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says to his Lord, he says, my Lord, कहर तो ये है कि काफिर को मिले हूर क़ुसूर. The problem and the injustice, this is what he is implying. My Lord, what kind of an injustice is this? कहर तो ये है कि काफिर को मिले हूर क़ुसूर. That the kafir is enjoying hur in this world and qusur and huge mansions. और बेचारे मुसलमान को फ़कत वादे हूर. And the poor Muslim is only getting the promise of a hur that he is going to get there. What kind of a justice is this? He is talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, कहर तो ये है कि काफिर को मिले हूर और क़ुसूर और बेचारे मुसलमान को फ़कत वादा है हूर. The poor Muslim is only getting the promise of the hur. Because that is what he is stuck at. And he is satisfied that he is going to get a hur. He does not look at the broader picture. That my goal is not a hur. My God is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My goal is He. My firm hadaf and my resting place is none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I look at things in the most simplistic manner. And then get stuck to them and not understand. When it comes to Karbala, the day of Ashura comes. This day of Ashura is supposed to inspire each and every one of us. Not only inspire. It is supposed to bring to you and I such an inspiration that I am willing to place my hands on the hands of Abu Abdullah Hussein and say to him, my master, command me, labbaika ya Hussein. Command me, my master. But what is labbaika ya Hussein? I just say it because everybody says it. What does it mean, labbaika ya Hussein? Here I am, my master. Your master wants you to do something. Your master expects you to do something. Your Lord expects you to do something. When you say labbaik Allahumma labbaik in Mecca, it is expected of you to do something. You don't just say, here I am, my master, here I am. Then what? Here I am. Then what? Are you willing to become that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you for? Or are you going to stop at just saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik? When you say labbaik ya Hussein, what does it mean? Labbaik ya Hussein. There is a voice that is being raised in Karbala 1400 years ago. And I said this and I'm just repeating it to drive my point across. 1400 years ago, no one is present. Everybody is dead and has received martyrdom except Ali Asghar. At that point, Hussein ibn Ali says, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنصُرْنَا. Is there anyone who will come to my aid? هَلْ مِن مُغِيثٍ يُغِيثُنَا. Is there anyone who will respond to my call of distress? هَلْ مِن ذَابٍ يَذُبُّ عَنْ حَرَمِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Is there anyone who will save and the violations which are being trampled as far as the sanctities of the Holy Prophet of Islam are concerned? Master, who are you calling upon? Abbas is no more. Hur is no more. Habib is no more. Ali Akbar is no more. Who are you calling upon when you say, Hal min nasirin yansurna? And the only answer you will get is, I am calling upon you. I am calling upon those who are going to be born. I am calling upon those who are going to take this message of Hussein ibn Ali. Take it until the day of judgment. Not within the environment in which you and I are, but beyond. For Hussein is a universal figure, not the Imam of the Shias only. So I miss out on the true picture. I miss out on the true understanding of Karbala. I miss out on so many things in my life. My concentration is hur, my concentration is halal. Of course, you must eat halal food. Please don't think that Maulana said don't eat halal food from tomorrow. You must eat halal food. The food must be halal. But that is a simple understanding. You know, I mentioned to you about Bahlol the other day. When Junaid Baghdad came to Bahlol and said to Bahlol, Bahlol, give me advices. And one of the things that Bahlol said to him, that you don't know how to eat. He says, but what do you mean I don't know how to eat? I told you I take salt before I eat my food. I told you that I don't extend my arms far away on the table. I told you that I make sure that I chew my food 40 times, and I told you all these things I told you. And Bahlol says, but everything is useless if this food that you are eating, you don't know whether it is halal or it is not halal. Everything else is useless. And the broader meaning outside that is whether you have usurped the right of someone. That is a broader understanding. So what happens is, I remain in the superficial understanding of everything, and I just continue following that as a madhab. You know, sometimes without understanding we do it. The alam of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is an alam to remain standing from the day it was raised until today and until the day of judgment. But there is one of the things that we don't even know what this alam is. I don't know what this alam is. I don't know what it stands for. I don't know what it means. I don't know what this alam represents. All I know is that I have to go to it, I have to kiss it, and that is my muharram over. I will get shifa from it, I will get barakah from it, and that is all I know. My concern is with barakah. My concern is with my shifa. It is not what the alam stands for. No. That is what it is for me. That is what I want. I recite this ziyarat waritha, and I say, please think about this. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة. I bear witness that you established prayer. Think about this. Think about what I am saying. Ya Mawlai, Ya Aba Abdullah. Oh my master, oh Abu Abdullah. أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. I bear witness that you were nur in the spines of your forefathers, and I bear witness that you were nur in the wombs that were pure. How can you bear witness? What do you know about Hussein? I bear witness that you prayed, Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta salah. Have I seen the salat of Hussein? Have I ever even imagined the salat of Hussein? Is it not a lie that I bear witness that you prayed your salat? What am I saying to Hussein? وَآتَيْتَ الزَّكَاةِ. And I bear witness, I was not even there. I say, وَآتَيْتَ الزَّكَاةِ أَشْهَدُ أَنَّكَ قَدْ آتَيْتَ الصَّلَاةِ. I bear witness that you gave zakat. And I bear witness وَأَمَرْتَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, that you did amr bil ma'ruf. وَنَهَيْتَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And I bear witness that you prevented people from going towards evil. وَأَطَعْتَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ حَتَّى أَتَاكَ الْيَقِينَ. And I bear witness that you obeyed Allah and obeyed the commands of Rasulullah until death overtook you. I am saying this. What am I saying? What is it? I just feel that every Thursday I must recite Ziyarat Waritha, so I should recite Ziyarat Waritha. Khalas. And that's what I am supposed to do. That's what I do. It is for barakah. But what am I saying? I must reflect. Whether I say Ashhadu annaka kad aqamta salah wa atayta zakah, or I don't say, it does nothing to the salat of Hussein. The salat of Hussein is the salat of Hussein. The zakat of Hussein is the zakat of Hussein. But why is the sixth Imam making me say this? Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta as-salah wa atayta az-zakah. The sixth Imam wants me to recite this. Why? So that, how can it be possible for somebody who does not even pray namaz? Can you imagine? Somebody who does not even pray salat, has no regard for salat. This man stands up in Ziyarat Waritha and says, Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta salah. I bear witness that you prayed, O Hussein. What a joke for that person to say this. If that is the intention with which he says it. What does it mean, Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta salah? It means that this salat, Allahu Akbar, prayed by Hussein at the time, under the circumstances, the way it was prayed, the reason for which it was prayed, is so much mentioned by me that I pray the salat of Hussein. That I try to imagine what Hussein's salat was, so I become a musalli. It doesn't do anything to the salat of Hussein. It is for me. وَآتَيْتَ الزَّكَاةِ. Zakat doesn't mean what we understand here, that the text that we are talking about, the zakat which is mentioned in the Quran, وَآتَيْتَ الزَّكَاةِ, here has a broader meaning. And the broader meaning is to understand your social responsibilities in the universe. To know that you as an individual are responsible for mankind. That you are the caliph of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to serve the cause of Allah by helping mankind, by becoming a productive member of the society. There was a man who came to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Let me give an example, because examples add value to what we say. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam comes to somebody comes to Imam alayhi salam and says, Ya Abu Abdullah, in Medina, Ya Abu Abdullah, I have a debt of 1,000 dinars. And I need to pay this debt. And I need to make sure that this debt is paid. And I am being followed by people, Ya Abu Abdullah. Is it possible for you to assist me in giving me 1,000 dinars? Ya Allah. Hussein ibn Ali says, indeed, he walks inside his house and then he calls upon his family members. He takes a bag in his hands and he says to them, whatever has anything, place it in this bag. And they place it, whoever had anything, they placed it in this bag. And then after that, Hussein does not come out of his room. He just takes his hand out of the door and he calls upon this man and says to him, take this bag and go, for what you required has been granted to you. So Hussein ibn Ali gave this. He did not come out of the room. He just placed his hand outside and then he asked this man, the beggar who had come to take the bag. The person who came to take this bag held the hands of Hussein from outside, realized this was the hand of Hussein and kissed it. And then he said, such hands will ever go to hell, will ever burn in the fire of hell. And then he took this money and went away. Moments later, when Amir al-Mu'mineen entered the house, went inside, the members of the family of Amir al-Mu'mineen said to him, Ya Ali, the man was in front of you, he was speaking to you, he was talking to you. Ya Abu Abdullah, he was talking to you. Why did you put your hand outside? Why did you not go outside? What a principle Imam teaches us. Teaching us values of humanity. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says, when a beggar comes to beg from you, you do not know how much he rehearses before he comes to beg to you. You do not know what happens to him when he comes to ask from you. And when he receives what you give to him, he cannot meet the eye of the giver. And I did not want to embarrass this man. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta as-salah wa atayta az-zakah. That is what I want to become. So when I talk about the zakat of Hussein, I need to put within me that principle of giving the zakat for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I listen to Karbala, when I look at Hussein, it must not only be just this, it has to be greater than this. Hussein could not have given his life only so that I can do matam and I can come out in julus and I can just weep and cry. No, it is very, very simplistic way of looking at Ashura. There is a greater meaning to this. When I say to Hussein ibn Ali, وَأَطَعْتَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ حَتَّى أَتَاكَ الْيَقِينَ فَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً قَتَلَتْكَ. I am saying this. La'nat upon the ummah that killed you. وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً ظَلَمَتْكَ. There are three groups of people that sixth Imam is referring to. لَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً قَتَلَتْكَ. Curses be upon the ummah that killed you. وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً ظَلَمَتْكَ. And the ummah that did dhulm on you. وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. And may Allah curse those who heard what transpired and were happy about it. No care attitude. They decided to remain silent about it. Even those people are being cursed. He is not referring to any single individual or any particular group, because then that will be a very simplistic way of looking. For Ashura will only then remain in Karbala. It cannot be understood in Orlando. If I want to understand Ashura as a universal principle, then what happens there must apply to me today. For Hussein can only be universal if he is there as a universal master. And then I carry on. Nisilmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. In ziyarati Ashura ila yawm al-qiyamah. I am at peace with those who are at peace with you, and I am at war with those who are at war with you. And I am the biggest zalim myself. This alam, this taziyah, they have a meaning. They are not just there, whoever introduced them. Problem is, when we remain in them, thinking that that is my goal, that is my hadaf, and I do not understand the deeper meaning of it, then Karbala becomes stagnant and there is no progress whatsoever. And it is not going to die, by the way. This Ashura is a huge event, and it is protected by the 12th Imam, Hazrat Hujjah salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. It is not going to just finish and end. Payam Azmi so beautifully says in his poetry, he says, 14 sadiyan beet gayi, Shabbir ka charcha baki hai. 14 centuries have passed, but Imam's name is still there. He says, 14 sadiyan beet gayi, Shabbir ka charcha baki hai. Quran अब तक बोल रहा है, खाने काबा बाकी है, करबो बला का लेके सहारा, गुंबद खजरा बाकी है, सारे झंडे टूट चुके हैं, सब्ज फरेरा बाकी है, 14 सदियां बीत गई, शब्बीर का चर्चा बाकी. 14 centuries have gone. Even Kaaba, even Medina, even the Green Dome is resting today because of the salat of Hussein, because of the sacrifices of Hussein. Had it not been for Hussein, the Kaaba that I see, and the Qibla that I have, and the golden dome or the green dome that I have would not have been there, because it was he who put everything at risk. He gave his all, he sacrificed everything to make sure that the progress of mankind does not stop. The intellect of mankind continues to progress, so that man is able to understand the true meaning of his own purpose of existence. And in doing so, he progresses further and further. Do you know, there is a book known as Tamacha Barukhsare Yazid, the principles of humanity taught to us. Tamacha, in Urdu, Tamacha Barukhsare Yazid, the slap on the face of Yazid. Let me mention this to you so that we see what humanity is to Hussein and how I perceive humanity. After the event of Ashura, 61 after Hijrah, when everything calmed down, Yazid ibn Muawiyah sent an individual known as Hussein ibn Namir to Mecca with the intention of terrorizing the people of Mecca and burning Khana-e-Kaaba. That was the mission. So he had an army. Hussein ibn Namir had an army, or Hussein ibn Namir his name was, had an army whose intention was to come and terrorize the people of Mecca and to burn away the Kaaba. So he arrived in Mecca, and as he was contemplating on how to attack Khana-e-Kaaba, he heard the news that Yazid had died in Sham. Upon the news that Yazid had died in Sham, the people of Mecca, there was a commotion within the people of Mecca, and they were starting to now wanting to know who was it that killed Hussein? Why did they kill Hussein? And there was chaos in Mecca, and they were looking for people so that they could put them under their knives and swords. And Hussein ibn Namir realized that for me to remain here in Mecca is extremely dangerous. So he decided to leave and flee from Mecca. In doing so, as he was fleeing from Mecca, he had no time to gather any means so that he could travel with those means, such as water and food. And it was a long journey that he had to take. So he just left because he was in a state of panic. He decided to go. As he went, there came a time when the animal was very tired. And he himself was extremely fatigued and exhausted. And the animal could not move any further. And Hussein ibn Namir is in the middle of the desert not knowing what to do. Suddenly, a man or another traveler appears from there with all the means, all the food, everything he had. So Hussein ibn Namir stops him and says to him, "Will you please be kind enough to assist me? My animal does not have any alaf, any food to eat, and I do not have any water. Is it possible for you to do so? And I shall pray for you, and may Allah reward you for this." So the traveler says, "No problem." He opens up his containers of water, gives it to the animal, gives him the grass. So the animal eats whatever it has to eat, and Hussein ibn Namir drinks water. After a while, he realizes now that the strength has come back and the energy has come back. He realizes and looks at this traveler and says to him, "For some reason, I recognize you from somewhere. I have seen you somewhere. I have recognized you. I know who you are, but I cannot place you." And the traveler says to him, Tamacha Barukhsar Yazid, the name of the book. The traveler says to him, "You may not recognize me, or you may recognize me, but I certainly cannot forget you. Who are you?" He says, "You were the one who were holding the head of my brother Ali Akbar on a spearhead. My name is Ali, son of Hussein. You are Hussein ibn Namir. You were holding the head of my brother Ali Akbar on a spearhead. But at this time, you called me as a human being. You required assistance. It is against the human values to deny you this water." Allahu Akbar. This is Zainul Abidin. This is my and your Imam. Broader meaning to understand, I don't tolerate my own, let alone Hussein ibn Namir. 400 women and children of Banu Umayyah in Madinatul Munawwara were granted refuge by Imam Zainul Abidin after the event of Karbala, because those women and children were innocent. In the name of humanity. I can't tolerate my own. I cannot look at my own. I cannot tolerate somebody who is from within the same fraternity. How can I see the broader picture? Somebody who is stuck in how to do, you go to Khana-e-Kaaba and perform the tawaf. And you are told, keep your left shoulder facing Khana-e-Kaaba. It's a scene. It's something to see. It's something to observe. You are told, keep your left shoulder facing Khana-e-Kaaba, so that you can circumambulate the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happens? is we go to Khana Kaaba, and now our total concentration in this tawaf is to make sure that my shoulder is parallel to Khana Kaaba. That is my total concentration. I come to the corners and you will see the mu'mineen moving their shoulders left, right, this way. All the corners, all they want to do is to make sure that their shoulder is facing Khana Kaaba. In doing so, they have missed the true point of the performance of tawaf. Now the whole concentration is the shoulder. The entire concentration is the shoulder. What are you doing here, oh man? You are circumambulating together with the celestial bodies. You are within the whole universe is circumambulating. You are part of them. You are ashraful makhluk. Oh man, let paradise that is also the makhluk of Allah desire you, for you are better than the paradise itself. No, I desire paradise. You are ashraful makhluk. Paradise is only a makhluk. You are the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is happening? I truly miss the point. So what happens is that the progress of mankind, when they begin to remain in those things, Ibrahim removed the idols and he broke all the idols. فَرَجَّعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They went back to their souls after the idols were broken. And when he said to them, ask this big one, he will tell you, I did not do anything, ask this big one. And when the big one was asked, when they called Ibrahim, when they realized this big one can't even talk, he cannot even speak, it is only an idol, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They went back to their souls and asked the question to it. How come my salat is not mi'raj? Prophet says, as-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. Namaz is the mi'raj of a mu'min. How come I have never experienced it? Or at least I'm talking about me. I'm sure you have taken mi'raj many times. I am talking about myself. How come I have not experienced mi'raj? Because my salat has everything to concentrate on except the salat itself. My salat has everything to concentrate about except the salat itself. And I have gone into all the other things about salat except the true communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For I look at things in the simplistic manner. Karbala is another name for progress. The Prophet of Islam. Surah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran says, الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث. And then Allah says ويضع عنهم إصرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم. The job of the Prophet was to free them from the burdens that they were carrying and to free them from the shackles that were holding them of idol worship, so that they may become free and liberated. Hussein does the same thing, and he says to them, فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. Be free in this world of yours. Understand your deen freely, not under influence all the time. So that when you see this deen, you will be able to appreciate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He is supposed to be appreciated, not somebody else's appreciation you and I take. We will never be able to reach God when we'll try to see somebody else's appreciation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The name, the Holy Prophet brought the community to progress. He unshackled them, he freed them so that they may move forward and forward and forward. Amirul Mu'mineen did exactly the same thing. All the A'immah did exactly the same thing. The community progressed. The doctors became doctors. The philosophers became philosophers. The 6th Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, when he used to sit in his madrasa, he used to call upon people to come and challenge him. When philosophies were being presented, 4,000 students in Madinatul Munawwara, listening from the 6th Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, Greek philosophy is being presented. Imam doesn't just discard it because it's Greek. You cannot even come here and talk to me. No. Hindu philosophy is brought, Imam doesn't throw it away. He sits there, engages with them, proves to them, has a debate with them, and shows to them what is what. That Imam, that Hussein wants this ummah to progress. This alam of Hazrat Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is teaching you and I one lesson. Do not stop. That is why Hussein has given his life. Move forward until you find the truth. This is the message. I, on the day of Ashura, put the alam to become tanda. Alam does not become tanda. Yeah, it is fine to do so if it is to think that Hazrat Abbas has fallen from his horse. It is okay, please don't get me wrong. But alam does not become tanda. It was raised on the day of Ashura. After it fell from the hands of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Hussein ibn Ali raised it, and he has given it to you and I to take this until the coming of Imam Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. It is not something that is this alam must rise until the day of, it must be respected for what it stands for. It must be venerated for what it stands for. It must be respected when it comes out for what it stands for. It may be seen as a ritual, but there is a purpose behind it. It is not in vain. So my fellow brothers, if the khutbah of Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamu alayh mentions Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, the wasiyah of Hussein ibn Ali mentions Amr bil Ma'ruf, and let me end this, I have already passed my time. The wasiyah of Hussein ibn Ali left to Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says exactly the same thing. I do not leave because I have any political aspirations. I do not leave because I am going for any fame. I do not leave because I am in pursuit of any wealth. No, I have a mission. My mission is that I want the islah of the ummah of my grandfather. And in doing so, I am going to apply one of the most fundamental principles. أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. I want to do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. I may have placed, or I may see Amr bil Ma'ruf as the 6th or the 7th in line of Furu'adeen, but Amr bil Ma'ruf in itself is the foundation of a good society where goodness is encouraged, where evil things are discouraged. When that happens and goodness is institutionalized in any community and any society, Salat then becomes Salat, Sawm then becomes Sawm. But then otherwise Salat is there, but it has no ruh, because illness, bad, evil things are present there. In the community there is people who are doing nothing but evil. That salat has no meaning whatsoever. When the community is established on the principles of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar as institutionalizing goodness, then that community has the potential of progress and can reach anywhere. And the sky is the limit. That is where Hussein ibn Ali wanted this ummah to go. He did not give his life away in the plains of Karbala only so that I think about him in the Marsiyas and I think about him in the Matam. Yes, Marsiya and Matam are there to remind me, to inspire me, to psych me up for me to understand the true message of Karbala. It is not there for me to remain in them and then get stuck in them without realizing the true essence of Karbala. Similarly, the Holy Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, soon we are going to commemorate the Shahadat and the Wafat of the Holy Prophet of Islam. And you will hear about him as to what was the vision of the Holy Prophet and what vision Quran gives about the Muslim Ummah and what should the Muslim Ummah be and how it should be and where it should reach. That was the message of Quran. That was the message of Rasulullah. That was what Hussein ibn Ali died for and gave his life. It was not only for the purposes of what we understand it to be, and probably even more, we need to understand what was it that Hussein ibn Ali wanted. He says, I do not know of any companion better and more loyal than my companions. أوفى ولا خيرا من أصحابي, Imam says. I have not seen better companions than mine and more loyal companions than my own companions who were present there. That is why, inspired by these companions, Mahatma Gandhi says that if I had 72 like Hussein, only 72 like what Hussein had, I would have been very easily able to bring revolution in India. All I needed was 72 like Hussein, who were there understanding. You know, on the day of Ashura, after the candle was lit again, and those companions were standing there telling Abu Abdullah al-Hussein that we will not leave you until the last moment. We will not leave you until the last drop of blood remains in our body. You know what Hussein did according to riwayat? He called upon each and every one of them. And he said, look between my two fingers. That is your place in the hereafter. This is what you are. This is your end. He showed it to another one and all the companions. Now everything was guaranteed to them. Everything was guaranteed. And then they were told, you are now free to leave. There is no blame against you. These people are seeking me, they are not seeking you. There shall be no blame. I allow you to go. وَهَذِهِ اللَّيْلِ قَدْ غَشِيَكُمْ. Imam says, this night is covering you. Go. Use this night and take one of the members of the Ahlul Bayt. Leave, Imam says. But they did not leave. Paradise was already given to them. Guarantees were already given to them. No blame was going to be upon them. But they still chose to give everything they had so that the message of Hussein ibn Ali is carried on. I, as an Azadar, am expected as the Ashraful Makhluq, as the Azadar of Hussein, to reflect the principles and the values that were left by Hussein for me. For if I don't do that, I am an Azadar, but not an Azadar of the level that Hussein ibn Ali wanted me to be. Day of Ashura. Let me end this, and inshallah tomorrow is the day of Arba'een, and we will speak about the event and the incident of Arba'een. But let me remember a 4-year-old daughter of Hussein in Karbala. Sakina. Just prior to Hussein ibn Ali's departure, when he bade farewell to everyone, he then said to Zainab, look after my Sakina for me. He said, oh Zainab, if you are able to get a couple of drops of water, then make sure that you give it to Sakina, for she is very thirsty. You know, think about it. You have been listening to Masaib throughout your lives on the day of Ashura in Sham Ghariba. You will hear that the children were crying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. You will hear this on the 8th of Muharram when you read in the annals of history and the Maqtal. On the 8th of Muharram, you will see children saying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. On the 9th of Muharram, the children are weeping and crying, Al-Atash, thirst, thirst. On the 10th night, until the 10th night of Muharram, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Even when Hur was asked and was told by the people there that, oh Hur, whenever we give an example of someone's courage and valor, we talk about you, oh Hur. What is it that has made you so weak? On the night of Ashura, Hur said, come with me. Come and I will tell you. And he brought them right near the tents where they could hear. They could hear two things. One, Subbuhun Quddus Rabbul Malaikati wal Ruh. They were glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what was the other voice there? Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Thirst, thirst. until the 10th day of Muharram, when Hussein ibn Ali gives instructions to Abbas and says, Abbas, look at these children saying Al-Atash, go and get some water for them. You hear the voices of Al-Atash. But have you noticed, I don't know if you have heard, but I haven't, nor have I come across any riwayat that read it to me. The moment Ashura finishes, I do not hear the voices of Al-Atash anymore. You will not hear the voices of Al-Atash anymore. The children are so traumatized. The children are so scared, so frightened, that they have stopped even asking for water. Sakina. On the day of Ashura, when Hussein ibn Ali was about to depart, Janab Zainab alayhi salam is told, give her a couple of drops of water if you are able to get some water. Janab Sakina alayhi salam is not to be seen. Suddenly Hussein mounts the steed and the horse, and he wants to leave, and he talks to the horse and says, oh my steed, oh Dhul Janah, this is the final journey that is going to be made, and you shall be free. There is no one after me who will sit on you. There shall be no more trouble. We have troubled you enough. But the Dhul Janah refuses to move. Once and twice and three times, and Hussein ibn Ali speaks to it. Suddenly he realizes that his 4-year-old daughter is holding on to the legs of the Dhul Janah, to the feet of the Dhul Janah, and saying, oh Dhul Janah, do not take my father, for you took my uncle Abbas, you did not bring him back. Ali Akbar did not come back, please don't take my father. Hussein dismounts the horse, holds on to Sakina. He holds on to Sakina, he sits with her in the burning and scorching sand of Karbala. A poet in Urdu says, a conversation started taking place when Sakina says to her father, Neend aayegi jab aapki boo paungi baba. Oh father, I will not be able to sleep until I get your fragrance at night. Neend aayegi jab aapki boo paungi baba. Main raat ko maqtal mein chali aaungi baba. फरमाया निकलती नहीं सैदाना बाहर, छाती पे सुलाएगी तुम्हें रात को मादर. Oh Sakina, go. Your aunt, your mother is going to put you on her chest. I shall sleep with Ali Asghar in the maqtal tonight. There is a conversation that is taking place between Sakina and Hussein. Finally he bids farewell. Night after the event of Ashura takes place, suddenly the horse, the Dhul Janah of Hussein, takes Hussein ibn Ali by this Nasheb, by this area that is known as Nasheb. Janabi Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is there. When he is about to breathe his last, it's a strange and peculiar thing the Dhul Janah does. He takes his head and he starts to put his head on the body of Hussein ibn Ali and takes the blood from the body of Hussein and rubs the blood of Hussein on his head, and then he starts to run towards the tent. Here the Dhul Janah runs towards the tent. Sakina comes out from the opposite side. The moment Dhul Janah reaches there, she sees the blood of Hussein on the head of Dhul Janah and says, Ya Dhul Janah, Aina tarakta Hussein? Oh Dhul Janah, my Hussein. Night comes. Janab Zainab is horrified when the tents have burned. She is looking at children, she is looking at women, and suddenly she realizes Sakina is missing. Janab Zainab is panicking now. She calls Umm Kulthum and says, oh Umm Kulthum, come with me. Sakina and Umm Kulthum go looking for Janab Zainab and Umm Kulthum go looking for Sakina. They move one place to another. Suddenly they arrive by the Euphrates. They look at the body of Abbas. Zainab shouts, oh Abbas, have you seen Sakina? Oh Abbas, have you seen Sakina? Nothing, no response. She moves on. Suddenly, it is said that Janab Zainab hears a voice. Oh Zainab, quiet. Sakina is sleeping on my chest. Oh Zainab, keep quiet. Sakina is just resting on my chest. Janab Zainab comes to the body. She sees a headless body there. She takes Sakina from that body. She hugs her, kisses her, and says, Sakina, how did you know this was the body? And why did you come out without the permission situation. Janab Sakina says, mother, oh my aunt Zainab, when the ashqiya slapped me, when my earrings were snatched away, when my clothes were burning, I had nowhere to go. I was looking for my father. I came to the maqtal, and suddenly there was a voice that came from this boy that said, Sakina, come to me. I realized to me, my father. I came to my father. Suddenly at night, Janab Zainab takes Sakina back to the tents. Janab Sakina arrives in the tents. Janab Zainab is talking to Sakina. Finally, she puts Sakina to sleep. Suddenly, Janab Hur's wife appears there. They say she brought some water. She brought some water to give to the people of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Zainab received the glass or the cup of water. She looked at the water. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. She immediately remembered the wasiyat of her brother Hussein ibn Ali. She comes outside looking for Sakina. The tents are burnt. Janab Zainab is looking for Sakina. She finds Sakina and wakes her up and says, oh Sakina, there is some water for you. Drink this water. Sakina says, but aunt, you are also hungry. You are also thirsty. You have not had water also for many days. Why don't you drink this glass or this cup of water? Janab Zainab says, your father said, whenever you do get water, try to give it to Sakina. Also Sakina, you are the youngest in the family. You are the smallest of the child. Sakina, why don't you drink? Janab Sakina takes this glass and starts walking towards the maqtal, comes behind the tents where Asghar is buried. Zainab says, Sakina, Janab Sakina weeps and says, the youngest is Ali as well. My brother Ali as well is thirsty. Matam ya Husseini.
कहते थे ज़ैनुल लबा लेके अलम आया हूँ उठो रसूले खुदा लेके अलम